everybody, welcome to part 6 of our multi-part series all about our expediting trucking business.
Yes.
Wahoo!
So we're going to do a little list here, similar to the last video we did, which was 55 essential items for living on your truck. And I'll put a link to that somewhere up here. That last video was basically stuff that you would probably need for just living in the truck. But this list is going to be geared to 55 essential items every truck driver should carry on the truck. And this is more truck specific, like if something breaks or you need it, or it's more for truck.
Actually loading and unloading and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's for truck stuff and not living inside the truck. This is more outside the truck, even though some of it
kind of business kind
is
of stuff.
inside the truck.
Businessy kind of things too.
This is trucking stuff. So we'll get started. There's 55 of these. There will be links in the descriptions, and the list will actually be out in the description, so check that out. There are not everything, but I included some links that go out to Amazon. They're affiliate links, so if you click on those and you buy something, yeah, we make just a little tiny small amount of money to help the channel out, and it doesn't cost you a thing. So yeah, it's a win-win for everybody, especially Amazon. They're the ones that really make the money.
They're the winners.
So we'll get started. So number 55.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention, there will not be any tests after this. So you won't have to memorize all 55.
Yeah. And you'll have the description anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay, number 55, oil. You always want to carry extra oil in your truck. And in our case, we have 3 engines on the truck. We have the big truck engine, we have the Reefer engine, and we have the generator engine. And in our case, we actually use different oil in all, well, 2 of them.
Yeah, the Reefer.
Yeah, the Reefer, you know. But anyway, for every truck is different. That's the other thing we wanted to say. This list is basically coming from our perspective as owner-operators. You know, I do a lot of stuff on the truck myself. I change oil in the generator. I wire lights when they break.
He's mechanically inclined. If I were the only one on the truck, I may have to go to the shop a little bit more often than he does.
I've been around trucks literally all my life. My dad was a truck driver. He owned trucks. I've been, whatever. But I guess what the point we're getting at is if you drive for an owner, check with them first, because they may not want you changing the oil and things or changing wiring around. So, some of this may not apply to people that are owners or drivers like us. I mean, it's my truck. I can do what I want to with it.
But the other thing with the oil is sometimes things need to be topped off.
Yes.
And you don't have to take it in the shop to have someone top off your oil.
Right, yeah. Check your oil. If it needs oil, put oil in it. But in our case, we use a different oil for the engine than we do for the generator and the Reefer.
There's a lot of oil difference. You want to talk to your owner about that.
Right. Yeah.
If you spring a leak, then it's all over everything.
No oil in the engine, that's a problem. So you might want to have that checked out. All right. Along the same lines, and you'll see we'll sort of group these together. These first ones are going to be mainly for the truck. Number 54 is coolant, or antifreeze, but coolant, and again, 3 engines, 3 different coolants. We literally actually have 3 different coolants for the truck.
Green, purple?
Green, red, I don't know, whatever it is. It's mainly red. Technically, we're supposed to use purple, which is pretty much the same as red in the engine. Our Reefer unit takes red, and there is a special blue coolant for the generator. It's an Onan generator on our truck. Everybody, if you have an APU, I don't know what they use. We don't have one. But carry extra of each. Usually a couple of gallons of oil, a couple of gallons of coolant. Might want to carry a spare jug with just water in it. Yeah. We always buy the pre-mix, pre-diluted 50/50 antifreeze coolant. And usually it's the red that we're messing with.
Again, if you're a driver, it's just good to have that on the truck, just as and your owner may have that on the truck, but just to top it off if there's something you need to do.
Number 53 is anti-gel or Rescue 911 or any additives that you put into your truck. We tend not to put additive or anti-gel because we buy fuel that already has it in there. But if we can't find it, or if it's going to get exceptionally cold, I usually use the Howell's anti-gel. You can find it at any of the truck stops. I link to it out on Amazon. Of course, it's cheaper on Amazon because
it's Amazon.
Well, everything in a truck stop is slightly overpriced. Slightly. just
because they have you over a barrel on the truck stops.
Yes. So anyway, but that keep it, number 52 is filters, and by this I mean our reefer unit takes spare fuel filters, spare air filters. We change the oil filters, air filters, and fuel filters on our generator, and those are own-in parts, or whatever I can find to put on there.
That numbers match.
Yeah, and along with the filters, you need a filter wrench, and I found it very handy to change that oil filter on the own-in generator as a strap wrench. It's very hard to get your hands in there, and that strap wrench fits around it. It's adjustable, so it's sort of one size fits all, and they work pretty well. So we have that. Number 51 would be grease and a grease gun. There's certain things on our truck. We have a lift gate, and I like to try to keep the lift gate greased outside of, when we go in and have the truck greased for periodic maintenance. It's always just nice to have a grease gun. Maybe they missed something. Like that never happens. Maybe they missed a grease fitting, or you want something, or you just need some grease for whatever reason.
And or you're an owner, operator, or driver who would prefer to grease your own truck. Then you have it there. You're ready to go.
And we just have a simple old-fashioned pump grease gun. One of the other things that we'll get to here in a little bit is some people actually have air on their truck, and you may actually have an air-powered grease gun. We don't. So we're old-fashioned. But literally the only thing really that I really do grease regularly or at least
on your own
look at is on the lift gate, because a lot of times they'll just skip the lift gate. So number 50, sort of along the lines of grease, is WD-40 or a penetrating oil, because these trucks run. The bolts are on the trucks forever. Sometimes it's very difficult to get something loose, so just shot of WD-40 or penetrating oil to get a bolt loosened up. If you have to change it, it's just handy to have.
Keep your locks loose.
Keep your locks loose at times. At least that's what we use it for. I know some people say don't put WD-40 on your locks, but I've never had any problems, so yeah, whatever. Continuing on, because we want to finish this up before tomorrow, is windshield washer fluid, number 49.
Especially in the wintertime.
Yes. And what we try to do in the wintertime is, if you look at the washing fluid themselves on the jug, there will be a listing of the degree. So in the summertime, you'll see a lot of 32 degree. Well, don't use that in the winter because it won't come out.
But it's good for the bugs in the summertime.
It's good for the bugs. In the wintertime, we try to find, if we can, minus at least minus 20, sometimes minus 30.
Yeah, you get the minus 30 up there in Minnesota.
Yeah. Actually, the best we ever bought was in Canada, and I don't even know how cold that went to, but it had a warning sign that it was flammable on the side of it. So we figured it was pretty good, and it worked. And we figure it's Canada. They know what they're doing.
I think it's cold up there.
With cold stuff. And along those lines, with the washer fluid, make sure we always carry an extra set of windshield wipers with us, and blades in our truck. Usually what I'll do is I don't carry a new set, which maybe would be a good idea, but I always save my old set when I take them off the truck, just in case it's an emergency, because somebody I know was actually driving down the road one night,
lost one,
and the windshield wiper blade, the whole thing came off.
Yep.
So
something
either
snapped on it and it just fell off.
Yeah, so luckily I had one, and she stopped and we put it on the truck and we were fine from there. So just always save that spare wiper blade.
Just have an extra set of new ones too, which works out good too.
And chances are you're not that far from a Walmart. Run in and get you ones. We've had really good luck with the Bausch blades, and our truck actually takes a 24-inch blade, but I've been putting 22-inch blades on there because that extra inch on either end just sort of flaps in the breeze anyway. But it doesn't matter. They seem to work either well. We just buy ours at Walmart usually, but there'll be a link to Amazon, and that's to the Bausch wiper blades, because I can no longer find the Bausch wiper blades at Walmart. They basically have stopped carrying them. So
that's the hard thing about getting things at Walmart, is a lot of times they just we don't sell very many of them, so we just get rid of them, or they find a different brand. Along
the idea of truck maintenance is number 47, jumper cables, because you just never know when you're going to leave the truck. It's dead and you need a jump, so always carry a set of jumper.
And we're very fortunate we have a Reefer we can do that with.
Yeah, but we also carry a 25-foot long pair of jumper cables, and that's the Amazon link you'll see. So they're heavy duty, you know, so I can actually reach from the reefer unit. Having 3 engines on the truck sometimes is an advantage because that reefer unit can jump off the truck, and I've done that before. Jump the reefer off onto the generator, got the generator fired up, and then the truck fires up. So number 46 is something you're actually required to carry out west in Colorado, especially, is tires.
Yeah, when does that
tire
start?
chains.
When does that start in Colorado?
Yeah, tires. You always
yeah,
required
make
everywhere.
sure you have tires on your truck. That's always a good thing.
Tire chains are required in Colorado, I believe, from the 1st of September to the end of May, possibly.
Yeah.
And so we have never used ours, but we carry them on the truck. I know some of folks have the automatic chains, but in certain cases you're still required to carry tire chains, even if you have the automatic chains.
Yeah, just check the laws in the states.
Yeah,
have them.
All the states are different. I don't know why. And along with those are the little spider bungee cords, where you have to put the chain on, and then you use that to tighten the chains up. Number 45 is a good heavy-duty flashlight, and I know everybody's got their phones anymore. Yeah, and it has a little bright LED on there, but I'm talking a heavy-duty flashlight. There's sort of a dual purpose for this. It is a big, heavy flashlight. The one I have linked on Amazon has 3 D batteries in it. They actually make them that take 6 D batteries. It's basically like having a baseball bat in your hand. So anyway, it's nice to have one of those in the truck. Puts out a really good light. We've went to having LED flashlights now instead of the old incandescent bulbs because they're just brighter. In fact, they're so bright they hurt your eyes to look at them. Number 44 is a good, accurate tire gauge, because you need to check the air in your tires. Obviously, that goes without saying. And we've had several over the years. I've had one for a while that had an actual gauge on it, a circular gauge, pressure gauge. That worked pretty well, but they rattle around in the truck, and so now I've actually went back to just an old-fashioned long, you know, stick it onto the tire and it sticks out the other end. The pressure gauge works really well. It seems to be very accurate. It wasn't a cheap one that you just buy off the shelf at Walmart. It was one that was actually a professional type quality gauge.
Heavy duty.
Heavy duty gauge, yeah. And along that, with the tire gauge, some people have an air chuck in the truck where they can actually hook up a hose and to actually inflate their tires yourself. We do not have that in this truck. Do not ask me why. I've never put one on the truck. It's something I've wanted to do.
There is a hose up there to be put on there.
For 5 years, and I just never have done it. But anyway, some, you know, people that have that ability can check their tires daily and keep air in the tires.
Along with that, tire thumpers, you know? You gotta have a tire thumper in the truck.
That's a hammer or whatever.
Hammer, stick, you know, that's...
Yeah, check the tires. Number 43 is fueling gloves. We covered this in the other video, gloves, but we actually found some nitrile coated gloves, and you have to use nitrile. You cannot use latex. You'll find some latex gloves. The nitrile is sort of hard to find. Diesel fuel will eat latex like it's its breakfast, and so we've actually found some at Walmart. They were really good. They were cheap, like $6 for a pair of gloves we bought.
We just found those though. We had been ordering them.
Yeah, they're insulated, so they're warm, because it's no fun to put fuel in a truck when it's 10 below zero.
Not with that nitro, because it gets cold.
It gets so cold, and so yeah, good pair of fueling gloves. Number 42 is a tape measure.
Always a plus. Anywhere you go.
You just always need to measure something. Like our box, you know, you may need to measure to make sure to fit. Something sitting on the dock. Hey, I wonder if that's going to fit in my truck. You measure it out. You just never know.
Yeah, because sometimes when you go to the shippers or the shipper doesn't have any idea of the dimensions, and so sometimes because we're a little bit more narrow on the inside, we need to, especially if there's overhang on a pallet. You know, they might know the pallet size, but they don't know how much. You know, they've thrown a couple inches on.
Just always handy to have. Always comes in handy. And now we're going to sort of get into some of the tools now. I'm not going to go into each individual tool, just general categories, because, you know, whatever. Number 41, wrenches and sockets. We carry a whole toolbox on the truck with various wrenches, various sockets. You just never know when you need to unscrew a bolt or something, you know. Number 40 is a screwdriver, Torx drivers, Allen wrenches. Those all sort of go along with the other. Yes.
Are those English or metric? Is everything on here English, right?
Most everything on this truck that I have found is English. There are some instances where there are some metric stuff. We've had some screws that were actually metric on the truck. So, you know, I think for the most part, everything's going to be SAE English, but and in some cases maybe not. It just depends, you know.
Depends on what kind of truck you have.
Yeah,
and who did the truck. And
Volvos probably have metric. I'm not for certain of that. Our Freightliner, I think, is still
depends on where everything was made and manufactured.
Yeah, here's your number 39. Is your thumper is a hammer, just a good old fashioned hammer.
Yeah, well, sometimes you need that for other things other than thumping.
Yeah,
I guess it's thumping of other things.
Yeah, you may have to hit a nail. You know, that's what they're made for, a nail. Of course, everything is a hammer in an emergency, so you can usually hit, you know, even that big flashlight. Ding,
yeah,
ding.
what was it out there we were hitting one time where we just needed it to unfreeze? I can't remember.
Something that was frozen. The lock on the back of the truck. It actually locked up. It wouldn't come loose, and so I banged it with a hammer. Number 38, a pry bar. You may need to move bars around in the back, and they get stuck in the E-tracks. And
Never happened to us.
Pry bar to get that loose, or you may have to move a pallet off of something. You may actually have to pull a pallet apart where you can take the nails out. It just happens. And, you know, it doesn't happen very often, but we tend to, you know, keep that stuff in the truck. Number 37, this is probably the most important thing that I've ever come across in this truck.
It's one of Jim's easy
I've
things.
used this so many times for so many things. Is I have a cordless drill, and it's an 18.6 volt cordless drill. It's a Ryobi drill that I bought at Home Depot several years back. It has various different attachments to it. It has like a little circular saw that hooks up to the handle and a drill, but I use the drill the most.
I was just going to say, we use circular saws out here.
Well, you could if you wanted to cut something. And it has like a sawzall, one reciprocating straw too. But anyway, the drill comes in handy if you want to drill something, because I've replaced things in like the locks on the back of the doors that keep the doors shut. Those came out. I had to replace those. I've replaced like the placard holder on the front of the truck. Never know when you're going to need a drill.
Just
and
even
of course,
some of the cabinet stuff in here.
Yeah,
too.
and you can always use it as a nut driver. So, you know, it works out good. And of course the charger that goes along with it. And we actually have 2 batteries, so I can plug the charger in inside, and it works. Of course, if I want to go outside and use the charger for whatever reason, I need an extension cord. Or if your drill is an electric drill, you'll need a big long 50-foot extension cord. 50 foot will reach all the way around the truck. We plug it into the inverter, and it works really well. Also, bits and drivers for the drill. I bought several little small kits. One of them has a bunch of screws or nut drivers in it. A lot of them have, and then other words, it's just like a drill kit where I have all kinds of different drill sizes, and I use those. And I've used those for number 34, which is Pop Rivets and a Rivet Gun. Those come in handy. You just can't believe I've actually had to drill off lights on the back of the truck because for whatever reason, the person that put the lights at the top of our box back there riveted them on with stainless steel rivets. So I had to drill those out, pull those off, replace them with aluminum rivets, and so yeah, you just never know what you're going to run into. And like I said, the door latch keepers on the back of the truck, I've replaced those, everything. So it's always something handy to have. Something else handy to have is an assortment of fasteners. You just never know. Screws, nuts, bolts, whatever you can
Paper
find.
clips.
Yeah. My dad had a half bushel basket of old screws and nuts and nails that he had collected over the years, and every time he wanted to fix something on the truck, I went and got this half bushel basket, dumped it out on the floor, and dug through and found the screws. 99.9% of the time, found the right bolt.
Yep.
Always tried to get him to buy new, and he's like, why?
I got a whole basket full of them. What's the point?
So why? But anyway, you know, we keep an assortment of screws and nuts and bolts and stuff on the truck. And speaking of fixing things, number 32 is electrical tape. Blacked electrical tape. It just always comes in handy for something. And also with zip ties. So
duct tape too.
If you need, you know, a wire comes loose or you just need to hold something in place, it just really works good. Yeah, duct tape. Never forget that. That's sort of like a given. We don't even put that on the list because what self-respecting person is not going to have a roll of duct tape?
It's not like it's like not having super glue. You know, you got to have super glue.
It's like not having water.
No, it's not.
Number 31, dielectric grease, because wire and lights corrode, and this sort of prevents that. So when I have to fix a light on the truck, I make sure I put dielectric grease on the connection, and that just keeps the corrosion away for a bit longer.
For a little bit.
For a little bit. So I have that, a tube of that in the truck. Number 30 is wire of various sizes and gauges. I usually keep like number 16, 14, and 12 gauge wire in the truck.
And we'll say this again. You know, there are some people who are okay with messing with electrical stuff, and there are some people not.
Right.
And also owners and drivers, you know,
Make
sure you communicate to each other that, hey, I'm willing to do this, or I know how to do this, you know, if you want me to.
The danger comes about in the fact that if you don't know what you're doing with electricity and you don't know what you're doing with the wires, you can short stuff out, and that is not good. So yeah, check with your owner.
Yourself or the truck.
Yeah. Fry the truck. Happens. So we keep that. Number 29 is an electrical toolbox. I have a toolbox on the truck, but I also have an electrical toolbox, which has all of my electrical supplies in it, all my fasteners, all my connectors, all my dielectric grease. I keep my wires, strippers, and my crimpers in there. And it's just a separate toolbox that I only use for electrical stuff, and I have a tester and everything else. So it's just handy to keep it separate from my regular toolbox. So
Good thing you can find everything.
I know where everything's at. Yes, definitely.
You have to go digging.
Number 28, spare lights or bulbs. You know, things go out on the trucks, they quit working. We have LED headlights on the truck, but I know in a lot of cases some of the older trucks have the old incandescent lights, and you got to carry around spare lights for those or spare bulbs. You know, and that's all truck dependent. Depends on what you've got in your truck and what type of bulb or light fixture you have.
Right, and we are with the LEDs on our box. We basically have found out that is an electrical issue, not necessarily replacing lights, because if you replace a light, it doesn't work. Then obviously
it's usually
an
a ground issue, and that's what we've had. The majority of the problems we've had, it's usually a ground or a connector will short.
By the way, do you like how I say we?
Yeah. Judy's out there all the time working on the lights.
I say, I bet that's a groundie. Why don't you go out there and take care of it?
Well, she's probably right 99% of the time. So anyway, number 27, when I'm out on the ground, it's nice to have a piece of cardboard or a moving pad or something to lay on the ground, because truck stops are just nasty, dirty things, and you don't really want to be...
It makes it a little softer too than just being on the ground.
Yeah, so we carry a decent sized piece of cardboard, or basically what I went to using is moving pads. We got a couple spare moving pads I'll lay down. They're a little softer, and so when I change the oil, or if I'm messing around with the brakes or something, I just
we have kind of a separate moving pad we don't put in the back. It's kind of kept in the toolbox so that, you know.
Yeah. My mom always told my dad that he could walk past a truck and he'd get dirty, and that's essentially true, because anytime you touch a truck, there's dirt. And so number 26 is something to clean that off with, and I've been around goop for 45, 50 years. My dad used to use it.
That's so cool.
Goop hand cleaner. It stinks and it's slimy and sort of gross, but it cleans the grease off your hands. It works. And so we've been using that forever. So I carry a little small tub of that in the truck. Number 25, we're halfway there. Oh, well, we're over halfway there. It's wheel chocks. You know, wheel chocks. You can find them just about anywhere sometimes.
Not really.
Not really. But wheel chocks are always handy to have if you need to do brake adjustments or anything like that. Where you
usually like at Harbor Freight they have them.
Yeah, they have them.
And some truck stops, but not all truck stops do.
Not all truck stops.
Iowa 80 kind of, they do, but not all truck stops do.
We're going to transition over now. These are sort of things that we need in the back of our box in our truck. You know, we've only got a 22-foot box back there, and it's a hardwood floor, but these next items are something that we, keep for the keeping the box clean, or would come in handy with loads of procurement and everything. Number 24 is a broom or a mop or a Swifter wet jet.
Or all of the above.
All of the above. We have a push broom and a regular hand broom that we sweep debris out the back of the truck at times and throw it away. And so those are just handy. We keep those up the front of the truck, strapped with a bungee cord up around to the very front end. We use like a mop. It's like a rectangular rag type mop that we actually use.
I think it's made by Rubbermaid.
I think it is.
We
use like floor cleaner, or you can buy hardwood floor cleaner, spray it on. It takes some of the dirt and stuff off. We use that from time to time. That would be number 23, floor cleaning supplies. We found this Old English orange spray hardwood floor cleaner. Makes your floors like a skating rink, but they smell good because it's orange. And
the skating rink is not very positive for walking on it, but it sure makes those pallets slide really easily, even when they're heavy.
You just got to make sure you secure them, but you can slide them around really well.
Yeah.
So we
if
try
you need to move them next to a load bar, you can kind of push them a little.
The floor of our box looks like a bowling alley. It's those little thin pieces of wood strips next to each other, and when it's really cleaned up, it looks really nice. And so we try to keep it clean for the customers and everything. But the floor cleaning supplies, the Old English, like I said, orange floor cleaning, hardwood floor is great. Number 22 is something we all have in our trucks. Don't think about too much, I guess. We have 10 in our truck as load bars. These are the E-Track load bars that snap into the sides. Since we're a straight truck and a reefer truck, our truck is only 94 inches from E-Track to E-Track on either side, inside. So you have to be careful with the width or the length of those load bars, because the ones that fit into the big tractor and trailers won't fit in our truck. They're too long.
Yeah, especially when they're not reefer either.
Yeah. So
some owners already provide those.
Right.
But when we used to drive for an owner, we had a few of our own that we had
we bought
just extra.
I think we bought 4 additional ones. We bought those at Lodi Metal Products in Belleville, Ohio. They make
Plug for them.
Yeah, great little company. They'll make straps. They'll make all kinds of stuff. And they'll
customize things for you, so it's cool.
Yeah, we've had bars cut down, and we've had straps made proprietary
for our pallet jack.
Yeah. And so along those lines, corner protectors. You've seen like the yellow corner protectors. We use those to put on to protect the corners while we strap things in. Those are very, very handy. And also moving pads. We have 24 of those black half-size moving pads in our truck. We don't use those as much as we used to. We'll use them sometimes with art crates or when we need to cover up something entirely. But they're just really, really handy to have.
Or if somebody needs some special attention paid to a particular item.
Right.
Or it's what I want to say, hard to get a strap around it because they've got some instrumental things that they don't want something to touch. So.
Yeah, so they work out pretty good. Along those same lines is your straps. We use ratchet straps, 2-inch wide ratchet straps I think all of ours are 16 foot long. That's sort of what we've standardized on.
We've got a couple 20.
Yep, we've got some big 20 ones, and we used to have some 12 foot ones, but most of those we didn't bring with us in the truck.
Really didn't use much.
Yeah, we didn't use them much. They're sort of hard, the 16 footers work really well. And we've kept those for quite a while. It helps to sort of lube the ratchet mechanisms from time to time. They get, from being in the back of the truck, they get sort of
and
tight.
Especially in the reefer unit where we've got so many different temperatures and moisture and stuff going on.
So, but our straps, we use those. I don't even know how many we have. We have a box full of straps back there. So we use those all the time, at least just about everything. Along the same lines, what are we up to here?
You did the straps, the
bungee cords. We just regular bungee cords that you buy at Walmart or whatever. They're really handy. Like if you've got something that's not very big, or like
our box that's like this big that we're loading in our truck.
It's just always handy to have that. Or if you want to, tie a moving pad around something, you can use a big bungee cord, maybe 2 of them looped together. They work out really well. And strap connectors. This is something that I don't know if people know. It's a little metal piece that you actually hook 2 E-Track straps together with it, and so you can take 2 16-foot
and make a
straps
big long strap
and make a 32-inch strap. We've actually used those. Or you can actually run straps all the way around something where it's not actually to the wall, but if you need to like contain stuff on a pallet, those are really great for that. We've got them in the truck here. They come in really handy at times.
Yeah, and then
it's one of those things, if you don't have, you wish you will.
Yeah, and we also have floor rings too,
yes.
which we've had those hook straps too, and we don't use that very often. But I don't know.
It's
if
just
you call
another.
them hook straps. I don't know if that's the technical term.
There's a hook strap, and we have floor rings in our floor. That's just an alternative. To using the E-Track, and they work. Sometimes you just get something that's really, really odd, and it just really helps. Okay, so number 19, we found this a couple years back.
So many comments on this.
It's called a Yalla rack. It's essentially a rack that you store our load bars vertically in the back, and if you follow the link out to Amazon, you'll see. But ours. If you envision this is the load bars are vertical and they fit into a rack. The rack is attached to the wall into the E-track, and you got like a little handle that slides out, and you can pull each individual bar up. It keeps them from having to put them up at the top level of the E-track, which hits me right here. Can't tell you how many times I've ran into those things.
Before we got to that.
So we got that track. We actually have 2 of them, one on either side of our truck. We had many people have said that's really cool.
And the cool thing about it is we keep them back towards the back,
right? And
then that way our freight can be loaded, and we have the load bars right there
at the back.
And our truck is a little heavy on the front, so it takes some weight off of our front axle if we move into the back.
Not much, but it is a little bit because we keep it all the way to the end. So we've always got those load bars that are handy at the back, and it saves my forehead a lot.
No concussions.
No concussions. Not
unless you drop one on your head.
Whatever. That's happened too. Number 18, bolt cutters and seal clippers. We a lot of times will have a high security bolt seal on the back of the truck, and not everybody on the other end is expecting that or has bolt cutters. So we carry a set of bolt cutters in our truck.
Most of our customers do, but every once in a while we run into somebody that doesn't, and it's always just nice to have one.
I don't have a great big giant set. I think it's a 24-inch set, which is sort of smaller, but they're new, so that we don't have them used them too much, so they still cut most of the bolt seals. I have to get onto it, but that's just sort of my job. Seal clippers, a lot of times we'll have cable seals. Those little tiny handy, they're just this big, and they're really, really sharp, and they cut that cable seal like it was nothing.
Yeah, the other thing is I don't like those little metal seals either. I don't like, you know, I mean...
We have a very small, like an 8-inch long pair of bolt cutters that we use to snip those little metal seals with. And
now, I have to interject here because there are a couple customers out there who have those little electric bolt cutters.
Yes.
Those are awesome.
Those are awesome.
It's just one of those. I'm not sure how much they are, but I'm just like, I want one of those. I want one of those.
They're not cheap. So anyway.
So if you feel inclined, I'm not sure where they got them, but
the last thing in the back of the truck, number 17, is storage containers. We bought these big black and yellow storage containers at Home Depot or Lowe's, I forget which. They've got a lid on them, and they actually can lock if you wanted to. Not really high security, but they keep all the pads and our straps and everything in them.
From getting any moisture and
yes,
everything.
We have 2 of those in the truck. We keep all of our stuff in that in the back, and they're big. I mean, it's probably 3 foot long and a couple feet wide and tall. Works out pretty well. And now we're going to transition.
Move to the front of the truck.
The front of the truck. And now the front of the truck.
Now
number 16 is a GPS unit. It's specifically a truck-specific GPS unit. We have the Rand McNally Overdrive 8-inch Pro tablet in the truck now. We did have a T&D tablet before.
Yeah, tablet. That's all I know. I don't remember the.
Rand McNally and Garmin are basically the big 2 people that make these truck-specific GPSs. They have truck routing. They have hazmat routing on them. And so they usually won't try to steer you down a place where you shouldn't go. You can put it in the high through your truck. You can, I'm not going to say it's exact because obviously it's not.
Every GPS you have to check.
Yeah, check twice. That's why we use our phones and check and see if there's anything funky.
Twice.
Just don't rely on the GPS. Don't be that person. Just don't. And not to be that person, if you're really unforsure, is we actually still have a Rand McNally Truckers Motor Carrier Atlas in the truck, which I need to update because that one's old.
Yeah, they got them inside the truck stop.
Yeah. Or they have them on Amazon.
Right up here.
Anyway, the Truckers Road Atlas, it's really handy to get a decent overview of just where everything's at in the country. You're limited to a tiny 7 or 8 inch screen on a GPS, where a Road Atlas, is 2 pages you can fold out and just get a better idea.
I like to see the overall whole trip picture.
Right.
And I mean, unless you really have really good eyes on these small screens, you can't really get the grasp of that whole picture. And then I like the whole picture, and then I get down to looking at the details.
It's really more of a learning tool, I think, to get an idea of where everything is at in the country. And it just helps.
Just how far does Interstate 40 run? You know, it's nice to have the atlas so you can see
the
that.
trucker atlases also has some very valuable information in the front as far as like weight limits and height restrictions, weight restrictions
for different states.
For all the different states, there is actually scale house numbers where you can call the Department of Transportation in each state, and it's just some very useful information. So we carry one. You know, it may be a little outdated, but I still pull mine out regularly and look at it. I just love the things. So
it's
crazy.
fun.
Number 14 is a dash cam, and this is something that we have not had until just recently, about a month ago.
As you can tell by our recent videos.
Yeah, if you look at the recent videos up here, you'll see that we bought a dash cam and installed it in the truck and did a little bit of a review on it yesterday. So it's a Garmin 66W dash cam. We like it so far. We haven't had to use it. Thankfully, we'll never really use it. It'll just sit up there and do its thing, and we won't have to worry about it. But anyway, that seems to be sort of something that comes in handy, you know, because usually if there is a car truck accident, they blame the truck driver. So if you have proof that it wasn't you, you know,
it's just a nice, handy thing to have.
Right.
Just is nice.
Number
13
is our bill of ladings. This is basically in the paperwork now. So you need
office business
stuff.
Now, for the carrier we drive for, we have our own bill of ladings.
Yes.
And ours are paper. And
Yes.
so we keep those in the truck, and so it's always very helpful to have as many of those as you need.
Because without those, we don't get paid and the freight doesn't get shipped. So
nobody knows where anything's going.
Right. Number 12, we have an Ameriscan unit in the truck, which is basically a temperature data recorder for the back of our box, and it actually spits out a paper tape, which we need to carry in our truck. So we have spare Ameriscan tapes. We probably, I don't know, at any point in time we'll have 10 of them in here or more if we can get our hands on them. They last about a month, and then maybe a little bit longer. It just depends.
Depends on how many temperature controlled stuff we have, or how many times we printed off.
It looks like the little roll of paper that used to go on the back of a calculator, but it is...
Some people in here might not have any idea what you're talking
true.
about.
It's a little roll of paper, and it spits out, you know, it spits out at the end, you know, anytime there's... we need to print that out. So we keep those in the truck. Number 11, truck box seals. And these are the plastic seals, and we do actually have some of the cable seals in here, where a lot of times the customers will not have a seal and they want us to seal the truck, so we actually carry a bunch of those around. I actually bought a box of 1,000
off of Amazon.
Off Amazon. And we have those, and hopefully those will last us for years and years and years. So every now and then I'll go home and run upstairs and grab a handful of them. But they're just handy to have. Yeah, so we carry those in the truck because we use them on like every load if we can. And then number 10 is
clipboards, and we actually have 2 clipboards in here. The one that we use the most is one that it closes, and if it's raining, then I can just put stuff in there, and plus that I can carry some seals in there, pen in there, and you know, any other stuff I might need in at the customers.
It's our paperwork box for the customers. So when we do a load, that's where our paperwork sits.
Yeah.
And then the second one?
And along with that, just notebooks. I know some people like to just, you know, instead of using their computer or tablet or phone all the time, they want to just have a regular notebook to keep things too. And me too. I like just the handwritten stuff sometimes.
I write our load information down to where how much the load pays and the mileage and everything. I keep sort of like a little logbook of that, so I can go back and look and see, you know, what we did instead of having to dig out a computer. It's just there. I keep it in a little tiny small 3-ring binder, and it just sits over in the door pouch.
Yeah. And I mentioned we had 2 clipboards, and mainly we have that second one for hazmat,
right?
Because we like to keep it in the door, and the big one that opens up doesn't fit in there. So we
small clipboard that we actually got when we went through orientation at FedEx. It actually says FedEx on it. So we keep that when we do hazmat, that we put the paperwork there. It sits in the door where it's supposed to be. It's within reach of the driver while in motion. And so we do that. So number 9, of course, if you have paper,
you have to have pens and pencils and office supplies, which can come up with paper clips, stapler,
rubber bands,
rubber bands, whatever. So, you know, just keep your office in a little. We have another little tiny container. We keep all that stuff in.
Right, because you just, you know, you need it. Pens, paper, all that stuff. Number 8. As we're driving down the road, we have to buy fuel. Well,
kind of need a card for that.
Unless you have your cards. So your fuel cards, along with your rewards cards, we keep those in a little wallet, sort of they're together with their own little selves. So when we go up to get fuel, we pull out our fuel card, put it in the pump, pull that out, put in the rewards card, pull that out, and then, that's it. But we do have a separate little thing for that. But don't forget those at home. You don't get very far. Number 7.
Oh, and I was going to get that just to show them what we do with our permits and stuff.
So, hey, look, like magic, our book showed up.
It appears! Ta-da!
Yeah, so
we have a notebook that has our permits and, first of all, our registration, proof of insurance.
All that fun stuff.
And IFTA cards or the IFTA things, and all of our permits. We keep it in our book, and then when we get pulled through a scale and they want to know, all our information, right there it is in the notebook. And I just hand them the notebook.
Right, and we keep the permits updated. Some of them expire, and on a yearly or monthly basis, we'll go through. I keep a list with the expiration dates, and as those once a month, I'll go through the permit book and check stuff. And
we keep them in a protective sheet too.
Yeah, we can actually download those from FedEx and print them off. That's one thing I do not have on this list. I should have put it on there. Is a printer. We actually have a printer, so I can print out stuff from my computer on the truck. Comes in really, really handy when we have to print a permit or customer information or whatever. But anyway, that's so that goes hand in hand with this book, right? Sure.
Yep, right there.
Okay.
Just throw it right in there.
Number 6 is our hazmat book in the emergency response guide. And when we haul hazmat, we have to have the book that has all the hazmat information in it, and also we have to tab the page
emergency response
in the emergency response guide.
And if you're all hazmat qualified, you all know what we're talking about.
And we keep those on the door of our truck. They just set in the door pouch, and so we know where they're at. Along sort of the same lines is a copy of the DOT regulations, part 59. I don't remember what it is.
Anyways, it's on the book up front.
It's a required little green book that you're required to have in the truck. You're supposed to have a copy of the DOT regulations in the truck, and we do. Ours is in our glove compartment. It's been there for a while. Every now and then I'll update it. Sometimes your carrier will send those out if you request it. I think the last one I got came from our carrier. So just have that in the truck. Read it. Know everything in that little book.
You may be tested on it later.
Yeah, if you find yourself with insomnia, it's always good reading material.
Those of you who have problems sleeping in the truck, we should have thrown that in our sleeping on the truck.
Yeah, we should have. Hey, get out and read the DOT regs because, yeah. So anyway, okay, number 4, the last part of this is the safety stuff. So number 4 is a good pair of safety glasses. A lot of times you'll go, the customer will have safety glasses. We keep our own in the truck just because I don't like wearing other people's glasses.
And you may want them when you're working around the truck, too.
Right. If you're drilling or grinding or anything, definitely. Good point, wife.
I thought so. Safety vest is another important one to have out while you're on the truck, not only in the customer's, warehouse, but out here in the truck stops. A lot of the drivers will wear them through the truck stop because they have dark clothing on.
Probably a very good idea. Our jackets, the light rain windbreaker jackets we have, actually have they're dark colored, but they've got reflective, and they show up really well at night.
Yes, really, because we all know our uniforms are not reflective.
No, they're not.
They're awfully dark.
Good thing to have, and a lot of customers require them now. And so if you have your own to wear into customers that have the vests, you don't have to pull the questionable ones off the wall and put on. Have your own. So so we keep those. Number 2 is steel-toed shoes, which we have in the truck.
We've used.
We have in the truck. Yeah, we don't use them too often, but some customers do require them, and sometimes they'll have like the little half shoe that goes over the top of your foot. But we don't do too much hazmat. We don't do too much chemical. And that's normally where you'll find where
a lot of times they'll have a sign out in the door that this is required, but sometimes if they do that, I will ask them, because sometimes it's more required of the employees walking in than it is of the drivers.
Right.
And sometimes it is specifically for the drivers, but sometimes we're just in and out so fast that they don't feel the need for us to do it.
Number 1 is a heavy-duty coat for extreme weather.
Can you tell we're doing this in the wintertime?
Yes. So carry at least one big heavy-duty like Carhartt coat or something like that, because if you do find yourself in a situation where you have to go out and put chains on the truck,
or pour antifreeze or oil or something. In the truck.
I mean, being on top of the truck and it's 10 below zero, trying to change a fuel filter with no big heavy coat on is no fun.
Has somebody done that before?
Yeah. So anyway, carry a big heavy coat, and then we have one bonus feature, and this
besides the printer that we added.
Besides the printer, so 2 bonuses. Hey, it's a value video. We found this early on. It's very, very handy because we always wanted to have one in the truck, but we just never could figure out where to put a ladder. You know, if you put it in the box, it's not accessible when you've got freight on the truck, so you can't get to it. So we found this little thing. Actually, one of our friends bought one, told us about it. It works really great. It's a telescoping ladder, and it actually we have one that's 13 foot, so I can reach the top of our truck up there.
Because our Reefer is all the way up there.
Yeah, it folds down where, you know, it just basically it expands out, and when you get ready to collapse it, it's got a little latch and it falls back together. And if you follow the link, you'll see. Out on Amazon, there's one there. They're so handy, it fits in the side box of our truck. They're really only like 3 foot tall and like 17, 18 inches wide when they fold up, and they fit perfectly in our toolbox. I've used them many times when we've had to actually, you know, climb up on the truck and check the oil or check the coolant, or, you know,
or maybe you went through something with some lower trees and you want to just check up the top of the box,
or just needed to climb up on top of the truck for some reason, you know. I don't
just
know.
To see what all's going on out
there.
But that
ladder has actually been very, very handy, and even if the truck is running and it's locked, I can climb up there and check. You know, it's just always something really. Every time I get it out and people see it, they're like, "Where did you get that?" And I'm like, "Camping World," which is where we bought ours.
Yeah, they've since there's more of them out there in more different places.
Right.
Different places. I think.
But they're really handy. I mean, they probably weigh 30 pounds, and
we've had ours for what, 6 years?
Ever since we've had this truck.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, there is our list. If there is something that we missed, which I'm sure we did, please comment below. And this is, like you said, part 6 of our all about our expediting trucking series, and I'll link the playlist up here. You can check out the rest of the videos, and please give us a thumbs up and comment and like, subscribe to our channel,
and ring that notification bell,
and we will catch you all in the next video.
So long, everybody.
Good night.